Hi there guys, this is Card back with another video, and in this video I'll be talking about crowd controlling or CC characters. And what exactly that means is crowd controlling is basically making sure that your opponents are completely locked in their position and are not able to attack you at all. And I'll just be discussing the heroes that are the best in this and also heroes that are suboptimal who can be used. I'll also go quickly over heroes which are like honorable mentions, but I wouldn't exactly recommend using those. And yeah, we'll see that throughout this video. So one thing that I would like to mention for these crowd controlling characters is their crystals. That is, it is a must to have wisdom transistor on your Nezu and Ibarra, about whom I'm going to talk in like few minutes, because they use the most out of this wisdom transistor. And now since I'm going to explain why they should be in your back row so that they don't take damage in the near future, they can easily regenerate rage from the wisdom transistor, because one, it gives you that defense bonus as the 2-piece set, and the 3-piece set basically recovers one rage, which has an 80% chance. But that 80% is 100%, because obviously all your characters does not do one tick of damage, but rather 2 or 3 ticks of damage, and then all tick have 80% chance. So you can recover more than one rage from just one stun, if that makes sense. If you're able to stun just the same enemy 2 times, even though he's stunned for the round itself or 2 rounds, it is still going to return the rage back so that you can continuously do your ultimate. Now this wisdom transistor does not work on present Mike, whom I'm about to talk about. So in that case, I mostly use the fury transistor on him. Which is this one, so that he can cast his ultimate again sometimes and numb even more targets and reduce their rage as well. And yeah, apart from just that, the assist skills that I mostly plan on using is the gravity plus, because one, at a higher star, which is around 3 stars, which is easy to get because it's a purple assist skill, you're able to guarantee a stun against your opponent and reduce their rage. Now at the same time, Somnambulist it has a 20% chance at 0 stars, but at 6 stars, if I'm not incorrect, it is a 36 or 38% chance to stun all the enemies. So if you're able to stun all the enemies and reduce their rage like that, just in the beginning of the round, it helps your overall crowd controlling even better and easier. Now, something that I recommend for player versus enemy is Black Hole. It has a lot of luck factor in it, but in general, if at level 0, it has a 50% chance of releasing and then 50% chance to reduce all enemies rage by 1. So if you're able to reduce their rage so that they don't cast their ultimate and can only do their normal attack, which also gets stopped by some characters which I'll mention, then it is a really good idea to do that. To use Black Hole, Gravity Plus, and Somnambulist in your team. Now you could remove either one of the Gravity Plus or Somnambulist for heal, so that you're able to heal your characters in case they do take some damage. So yeah, that is some of my recommendations. So let's get started. So let's begin. So first and foremost, the newest character that we have is Ibarra. Now Ibarra is extremely new to this game right now. It has only been 2 weeks since she has been out in this game, but her ultimate skill basically has 20% chance to stun all the enemies. Now we don't care about the damage here. Now these crowd control characters are not damage dealers, but rather someone who's going to survive the entire game till round 20, sometimes even less than that, because you'll probably kill all the opponents by then. But these crowd control characters are only good for player versus enemy, like Heroic Journey or Hero Tower, stuff like that, which is hard to clear at higher levels. And being able to stun all the enemies, even though it's a 20% chance, is fairly good. Now, I do not recommend her at 0 stars, because at 2 stars that stun rate is increased to 50%. So out of the 6 characters that are standing in the field, you have a guaranteed chance to stun 3 of them in any way, shape or form. So that is actually insane, and matter of fact, this 50% sometimes literally stuns all the opponents. Now what's better is at 4 star, she reduces the rage of all the enemies by 1. Now, in this game, the highest source of damage comes out from the rage that the enemies have and their ultimates. So, the more rage they have, the more likely they are to do their ultimate, and then the ultimate requires 4 rage. So, basically, if she reduces their rage, overall she can completely reduce the damage taken in case they get like out of the lock and actually hit your your characters. So she's pretty good as such at 4 stars, even better than the best crowd control character that is in this game right now. But 2-star makes her extremely overpowered. Her 6-star isn't that recommended. It's not worth going for because already at this point you already have a lot of HP and defense so that she can survive. And you don't need that attack person and extra damage on stunned enemies, but it's kind of useful in case you want to clear the game or that specific round faster or something. So yeah, I would recommend 4-star for her. So Ibarra is someone that is definitely worth it. Now someone who's eventually, I would say personally that Nezu is the best crowd control character in this game by far. He's even better than Ibarra for just one reason, and that is his ultimate has 15% chance to silence, 15% chance to numb, and 15% chance to stun. Now, he can only be obtained from Wish Realm, something like what Ibarra is. She can also be only obtained from Wish Realm, but she's fairly new, so a lot of the newer players might not have her or not have the chance to get her. But Nezu is definitely a must pull to get as soon as possible, and his stars are the ones which make him extremely broken. So at 2 stars his numb rate is increased to 35%, at 4 stars his silence rate is increased to 35%, and at 6 star the stun rate is increased to 35%. Now 6 stars is definitely recommendable because being able to stun 35% of the times is incredibly good. Like you saw how I mentioned, with 50% Ibarra was able to stun almost all the enemies, sometimes 4 to 6 and 3 at the bare minimum. With 35% you are guaranteed to stun at least 2 opponents, and if not stun, you already have a higher chance of silencing or numbing them. In case you do both numb and silence, that is exactly the same effect as a stun, because they can't do their normal attack in numb and they can't do their ultimate in silence. So basically numb means they cannot do their normal attack, but if they do have enough rage they can still do their ultimates, whereas silenced means they cannot cast their ultimate, but at the same time if they do not have enough rage they can do their normal attack. But stun basically is a complete lock, so stun is definitely the best out of all of these. So 6-star is a definite pull for Nezu. We have to try to patrol him or any way, shape or form that we get Nezu in any chance. We definitely need him for our team if you're trying to go for crowd control, and he's way better than others. Now his costume at level 10 also has a 50% chance to reduce the target's rage by 1, something similar to Ibarra. Even though she has 100% chance, he has 50% chance, which is still pretty good. And yeah, so that is why Nezu is, in my opinion, the best crowd controller. Ibarra is almost equal, sometimes in some cases even better than Nezu, because she has stun chance and a higher stun chance, which is the best one out there. So yeah, that's Nezu for you. Now, right after Nezu and Ibarra, this is where it starts to get a bit more complex. And what I mean by it becomes complex is basically all the other characters that I'm going to mention are not going to be as good as these 2 characters that I just mentioned. So I would like to start with Present Mike. So now his ultimate in general has a 30% chance to inflict numb on all enemies. So the all enemies part is what makes him so good in crowd controlling, because if you already have Nezu and Ibarra in your team, they are already reducing rage, and if the opponents do not have enough rage and are numbed by your Present Mike, and that's for all the enemies, all 3 attack all the enemies. So if he numbs them, they cannot do their basic attack and they do not have enough rage to do their ultimate. So overall he's pretty good. And if you star him up to 6 stars, that 30% goes up to 75% chance of numbing each opponent, which basically means there are chances that Mike will literally numb all the opponents, and that has happened a lot of times with me. That he has numbed like 5 out of the 6 opponents. So I definitely try running him whenever I'm doing PVE. And then at the same time, he has a 30% chance to reduce the target's reach by 1. So it's somewhat similar to what others are doing, like Nezu and Ibarra are doing. So that is why he's a very good pick for me. Now he is really good, like he's really well synergized with Tomura, and I'll come back to Tomura in an honorable mention because he's not crowd control, but he can literally help you a lot if you use him in your team because he's a really good attacker. We'll come back to that. So right after present Mike, we have Midoriya S class, the muscle Midoriya. Now basically his ultimate has 35% chance to stun 3 random enemies. Now again, the only reason he comes under these characters is because he can't attack all the enemies, but 3 enemies with 35% chance is pretty high. With his stars, you get up to 80% chance to stun them, and if you attack 3 opponents and have an 80% chance, that is a really high chance that at least 2, if not all, which for me mostly all the opponents get stunned if I'm using Deku, which has been a long time since I've used him, but in general he stuns all the 3 opponents that he's attacking. Now his costume at the same time, if he stuns them, he reduces the target's rage by 1. So it's somewhat similar to the other 3. He's a good crowd controlling unit. And as a beginner, the Midoriya muscle is someone you can mostly get without any issues. Excuse me. Is someone you can get without any issues. So he's definitely someone I would use in my team as a beginner. But as soon as I unlock Nezu and Ibarra and even present Mike, I would try to swap the other 2 for Midoriya. That is Nezu and Ibarra. Present Mike can have a different spot because he synergizes well with other characters as well. So that's Midoriya for you. Now, right after Midoriya, someone whom I have found the most useful is Denki. If I can find him, Denki. So Denki Kaminari, his ultimate has 45% chance to numb all the opponents, and that is for just 1 round, which is not entirely bad. But as you get him started up, this increases all the way up to 90% of numbing. And then if you're but the only issue with this is he only attacks the enemies in the front row. If he was all the enemies in the opponent's side, then he would have been better than present Mike. But his only drawback is the front row. So he can only numb the 3 opponents in the front row, and with his costume he can further reduce their rage whoever is numbed by 1. So it's somewhat similar to what the pattern you have seen with the other 3. You also reduce the rage by 1, so yeah. Overall, he's pretty useful in case you're using him for dojo. He's definitely worth it for the haste dojo, which is required for, if I'm not wrong, tenacious. So definitely useful for that. Alright. So right after Denki, we have Mina Ashido. Now the only reason I like her the most is because she attacks all the enemies as well. And she has 25% to numb all the characters. So that's all the enemies, not just a fraction of those, but all of them. The only issue is she is an A class hero, so her star ups are easy to get. That's why they do not increase by a lot. Like how present Mike has 75% chance, she only has 50% chance. And she does not exactly reduce their rage at all. So that is another reason why I would not recommend her to be used all the times. But she definitely is a good pick. Now right after her, we have the ones which are not so good, but they're still not extremely bad. So right after her, I would include Suyu Asui. Now what she does is her ultimate has a 80% chance to numb the opponent, but it's only 1 enemy. Even though the scaling is high, as I mentioned, these crowd control characters do not need damage, but they rather need HP and defense to be stocked up as much as possible so that they can survive and keep locking the enemies. The issue with her is only 1 enemy. If you're only able to lock 1 enemy and not let them attack, then it's not quite that useful. Now the best part is when you start her up, the numb chance increases to 100 and you reduce the target's rage by 3 overall, because it's 1 just for normal ultimate. At 4 stars it becomes 2 and 6 stars becomes 3. So that is why Suyu Asui is definitely someone that I would mention, but I wouldn't recommend using her in your team unless you do not have any of the others that I mentioned. Now, right after her is Tenyaida, because one, his ultimate basically attacks someone from the back row and then reduces their rage by one. Now, if you star him up, you can also have a 50% chance to stun, and at 4 star that increases to 100%, and then you can reduce their rage by 2. So overall he's pretty insane, and at the same time at costume level 10 you get 20% dodge rate, so you are able to dodge the attacks in case someone loses out of your lock. But otherwise you can attack only one enemy and then reduce 2 of their rage and then stun them guaranteed if you have him 6 stars. But I would not recommend him in your crowd control team because overall he's not that extremely well known. Now, an honorable mention I would give is Stain. His only drawback is one, he's very hard to get. Two, he needs 2 stars and 4 stars for his best abilities of crowd control. So at 2 stars, he has 65% to numb all the enemies. And another issue is it's only in the front row. So he's somewhat alike Denki Kaminari. His ultimate is able to numb all the targets in the front row with a 65%. At the same time, it also has 70% to stack up bleed on them, which makes them take damage over time. So if you're not able to deal a lot of damage, he can help you do that. And at 4 stars, he's able to give you or he's able to reduce 1 rage when he's inflicting bleed. So when he has 70% chance of inflicting bleed, he's able to also reduce 1 rage in that 70% chance. So definitely an honorable mention, which I would definitely recommend using if you already have him at 4 stars. You could use him as a crowd controller, but we already have others who are better than him at the same task. Now, right after him comes Shota Aizawa. Now, he has a similar issue. He's only able to attack just one enemy, but at the same time, he has a 100% chance to inflict silence, so they cannot do their ultimate at all. But if you notice that most of them reduce their rage, so if they're not able to do their ultimates, but they do not have enough rage, they can still do their normal attack and deal damage. And if you see when you star him up at 6 stars, you can reduce the rage by 3, which, to be honest, if you silence the opponent and they do not have rage at all, they can still do their normal attack and hit your characters, so he's not recommended a lot in your crowd controlling teams. Now right after that comes Gang Orca. Now his best part is rage reduction. When his ultimate actually hits all the like 2 opponents in a row, basically he attacks a column of enemies, so that means he can only attack 2 of those enemies at once in a straight line, horizontally. Horizontally. So basically what happens is he's able to reduce 2 rage from both of those targets. So in general, if he's synergized well with those characters, he will have 2 characters who will be permanently stunned, but I think there are better alternatives for Gang Orca. Now, my most recommended character as of now he's not a crowd controlling character, but in general, he is someone who synergizes the best with all the other crowd controls, is Tomura Shigaraki. Now, the biggest drawback is it is a must to have a 6 star for that to work. Now, at 6 star, if Tomura Shigaraki crits, there's a 50% chance that the rage is reduced by 2. Now, this 50% is literally 100% because Shigaraki's damage is dealt in 6 ticks. What I'm trying to say is when he does his ultimate, he does tick 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 and then a tick tick tick. So there are 6 total hits that he does. So all those 6 hits have a 50% chance to reduce the rage by 2 in one round. So in that way, you can reduce the 2 rage guaranteed with Tomura Shigaraki. And the best part is his 2 stars and 4 stars allow you to cast his ultimate again, making him reduce the rage even more. And in general, he's a really high damage dealer, and he deals it to all the enemies, not just in a row or a column, but all the enemies. So all 6 of them lose their rage, and so he synergizes extremely well with Present Mic, because Present Mic numbs all the enemies and it has a 75% chance, while at the same time, if you add Nezu in there, he has a 35% chance to numb more enemies, And with Shigaraki, no one has any stamina, or sorry, no one has any rage left with them, and it's a permanent lock by itself. So that is a really good character that I recommend for crowd controlling. Now, the one team that I recommend to almost all the players, if they do have Shigaraki, is mostly this team right here. I would always start with Shigaraki in my team as the first character so that he can reduce the rage for everyone who is in the opponent's side. And I would make sure that his HP is pretty high because he's always gonna take the first damage from this opponent who is in the first row. Now they don't have enough rage to cast their ultimate, so he only does his normal attack on Shigaraki. So that's fine, we do take some damage. Right after that, I just keep a tank so that he can take in all the damage in case they are finally unlocked, so that he can already take the damage and heal back and also deal the reflected damage to them. Right after them, I usually just have any random character, preferably Momo, because she can provide her super shield to all your characters and easily make you survive long. And right after her, I go with Ibara, Nezu, and then Present Mike in the exact same order. Or sometimes Nezu and Ibara can be swapped. So in this case, what happens is the last three characters completely lock your opponents. Tomura Shigaraki has already reduced their rage by a lot. And so at that point, Present Mike numbs everyone so that they can't move at all because they don't have enough rage, they can't even do their ultimate. At the same time, Nezu can stun, silence, and numb all the opponents, and Ibara can stun even more opponents. And then Momo's already trying to save her characters with her shield. So this is a team that I mostly recommend for all of us. And basically, if this team is not working out because for some reason Tomura is your main damage dealer here, so I would probably go with a lot of investment on Shigaraki so that he can easily deal a lot more damage. He's also providing 15% dodge, which is the best part of this entire kit. So that is why I mostly use him. In some cases, I tend to remove Kirishima right here for Mei Hatsume for her rage regeneration, which I have mentioned in my Buffer Heroes video if you want to have a look at that. So that my Shigaraki can always be full on rage. And then I can just move someone here and there could be Mei Hatsume right there. So that she could give him some more rage to do his ultimate and deal more damage. So that is the team that I go with. Now, there are cases when there's Nomu right in front of your Shigaraki, and then in that case, there's literally no way that your Shigaraki is surviving. So in that case, I have two different teams. What I tend to do is exactly this right here. I think Kirishima can sometimes be swapped off for Mei Hatsume again. Like, let's say if we remove him and put Mei Hatsume right there, so that Momo can shield all the time, and the Nomu does not get to attack at all. What I'm trying to do right here is to have Nomu only deal damage to Momo. And Momo has a higher chance to save all the characters right here in case someone does their ultimate. Nezu right here has the chance to stun them or silence them so that they cannot do their ultimates until Shigaraki reduces their rage. And at the same time, he also reduces their rage. So that is why this is another team that I go with for crowd controlling and is definitely totally worth it. Some case Nezu can come before Momo if you're not able to win at all. But most recommended one is definitely going to be something like Shigaraki with Kirishima right there, and then Momo right here, and then this form right here. This is able to clear almost all the higher level difficulties right now in the game. And that is how I also cleared Heroic Journey and Hero Tower. Maybe I think I did not have my Kirishima, but rather Mei Hatsume for rage regeneration for my Shigaraki, and just some alteration for my team like this. And this was also pretty good in working out. So yeah, those were all the best crowd controlling characters. Most recommended one is Nezu right here, and right after him comes Ibara. And after right after those two, I have Shigaraki so that he can rage reduce. Now, if you do not have 6 stars on him, there's another team that I can go for. If I just get rid of him and just do Momo, Nezu, and then Kirishima right here, or maybe even your main DPS, so that you can deal a lot of damage in the meanwhile, is definitely worth it. Because right now, Nezu reduces rage, Ibarra reduces rage, and present Mike reduces rage. Even though the chances are only 50%, 100%, and 30%, that's still something. And at the same time, you're dealing quite a lot of damage because of your main damage dealer. So this is another team that I recommend. And then Mei Hatsume can be separated for Kirishima, and you can go like this, so that your Kirishima keeps taking damage once they get out of lock, because you don't have enough crowd controlling. So this is something else that I go for as a beginner. So yeah, those were the teams that I would recommend. And right after Shigaraki, if he's 6-star, definitely keep him in your team. I would go for Present Mike, who is a must in your team, because Shigaraki is the best synergy with him. That's Present Mike. He can numb everyone, and Shigaraki can reduce reach for everyone. So he definitely automatically locks all the opponents, and he's a must-have to your crowd controlling team. So yeah, that was mostly the video that I had for you guys to mostly work with in crowd controlling and completing your player versus enemy, and I really hope that helped you guys a lot. And for my Tomura Shigaraki, I keep him on Courage Transistor so that he can deal the most damage and at the same time survive longer, because my Courage Transistors are a bit stronger than the Wisdom ones. So yeah, that is basically what I do for crowd controlling and completing all the games player versus enemy. And right now, if you can see, I have completed all the hard chapters, all the normal or the easy chapters, and at the same time I'm done with the entire hero tower, if you can see right here. So I really hope that helped, and that is it for this video. I hope that helps you clear out more of your player versus enemy, like your heroic tower or heroic journey or hero tower, and maybe even more than just that. And yeah, thank you so much for your time, and that is it for the video, and I'm signing off right here. Bye bye. Thank you.